there's a number that should bother you. In the United States, an engine reaching 200,000 miles is considered a success story. Something you brag about. Something you put a sticker on the back window for. In Japan, that number is barely the halfway point. Japanese taxi fleets. Vehicles running urban routes, idling in traffic, starting cold dozens of times a day, routinely cross 400,000 miles. Some documented cases push past 500,000 on the original block. Same metallurgy, same oil chemistry available to anyone. No secret compound, no exotic engineering exclusive to the Japanese market. So, what is actually different? It's not the parts, it's the process around the parts. And that process starts the moment you decide to do an oil change, before you even touch the drain plug. Most drivers treat an oil change like a reset. Old oil out, new oil in, done. Clean slate. But that's not how it works mechanically. Every oil change carries forward a percentage of what came before it. And if you've been doing this wrong, even slightly wrong, that carryover has been quietly accumulating inside your engine for years. Here's where it starts. Temperature. When engine oil is cold, its viscosity is high, it flows slowly. And critically, the contaminants suspended in it, combustion byproducts, fuel residue, microscopic metallic wear particles, don't stay evenly distributed. They settle. They concentrate in low-flow areas inside the engine. When you drain cold oil, those settled contaminants don't leave. They stay behind, coating surfaces and hiding in galleries. Then you pour in fresh oil, and within minutes, that new oil is already absorbing what the drain left behind. Now, run the engine at full operating temperature, typically between 180 and 200 degrees Fahrenheit depending on the application, and the behavior changes entirely. Oil flows as designed, contaminants stay suspended. When you pull that drain plug at proper temperature, a meaningfully larger percentage of what's broken down actually exits the engine. This isn't a dramatic difference in a single oil change, but compounded across hundreds of services over a vehicle's life, the gap between draining warm and draining cold adds up to real wear. Drive the car, reach full operating temp, then drain. That's the first discipline. But even if you nail the temperature, most people immediately make the next mistake. And it's one the industry quietly encourages because it saves time and moves more cars through the bay. The drain is open, oil is flowing, and the moment that stream slows to a drip, most people reach for the drain plug. 5 minutes, sometimes less. Job done. From a shop's perspective, that makes complete sense. Throughput is revenue. The faster the car is back on the ground, the better the business runs. But from your engine's perspective, that decision has a cost. And it's one that repeats every single service interval. It's up in the valve train. It's coating the timing components. It's sitting in upper oil galleries that feed the camshafts and lifters. All of that oil has to travel back down by gravity, and it moves slowly. It's up in the valve train. It's coating the timing components. It's sitting in upper oil galleries that feed the camshafts and lifters. All of that oil has to travel back down by gravity, and it moves slowly. When you close the drain after 5 minutes, that oil is still on its way down. It never makes it out. And here's the part that matters. The oil still clinging to upper engine components isn't fresh. It's the most degraded oil in the system. It's been exposed to the highest heat, the most combustion pressure, the most oxidation. It carries moisture, fuel dilution, and fine wear particles. And the moment your fresh oil goes in, it absorbs all of that immediately. You didn't start with a clean system. You started with a compromised one, from the very first minute of the new service interval. The fix requires almost nothing except patience. After the main flow slows, leave it. 10 to 15 minutes of additional drain time allows the upper galleries to return their oil to the sump and exit through the drain. The difference in volume isn't massive, but the difference in contamination level matters. This is one of those steps that costs nothing but time, and most people skip it every single time. But even with perfect temperature and maximum drain time, there's a hard limit you cannot engineer around. Some oil will always stay inside the engine. The question isn't whether residual oil stays behind. It always does. The question is how degraded that residual oil is, and how much of it you're leaving behind each time. The question isn't whether residual oil stays behind. It always does. The question is how degraded that residual oil is, and how much of it you're leaving behind each time. Oxidized oil, depleted additives, contamination that immediately begins compromising your new fill before the engine even fires again. Japanese mechanics don't attempt the impossible. They don't chase 100% evacuation. What they do is reduce residual contamination as much as practically possible, every single time through a combination of temperature, drain time, and even vehicle positioning. because they understand something that most drivers never think about. The place where engine wear actually comes from isn't where you expect it. Inside a running engine, metal parts aren't making contact with each other. Under normal conditions, they never should. They ride on a pressurized film of oil, a hydrodynamic layer that physically separates surfaces moving at high velocity against each other. A hydrodynamic layer that physically separates surfaces moving at high velocity against each other. That film is extraordinarily thin. In many engine bearings, we're talking about a layer measured in microns, thinner than a human hair. It lasts only seconds, but it happens every single drive cycle for the life of the vehicle. Tens of thousands of cold starts over a typical engine lifespan. The moment that film breaks down, even briefly, even partially, metal contacts metal, and that contact, repeated at high frequency across thousands of RPM, creates wear that never reverses. Now here's what almost nobody tells you about where that breakdown actually happens. It's not at highway speed. It's not under hard acceleration. It's not when the engine is working hardest in the traditional sense. It lasts only seconds. But it happens every single drive cycle for the life of the vehicle. Tens of thousands of cold starts over a typical engine lifespan. These are the windows where lubrication is weakest and wear accumulates fastest. And of those three, cold start is the one that happens every single day. Every time you turn the key, the engine goes through a brief but critical period. The oil pump is spinning, pressure is building. Every time you turn the key, the engine goes through a brief but critical period. The oil pump is spinning, pressure is building, but for a few seconds, it hasn't reached every passage it needs to reach. Critical components at the top of the engine, camshafts, lifters, rocker arms, are momentarily operating with less oil film than they need. This is called boundary lubrication. Tens of thousands of cold starts over a typical engine lifespan. That's where a disproportionate share of long-term wear originates. Cold oil compounds this further. Low-temperature oil has higher viscosity. It resists flow. It takes longer to reach tight clearances. And during startup, fuel dilution is at its highest, which chemically weakens the oil's protective properties at exactly the moment those properties are most needed. What reduces cold start wear? Clean oil. Low contamination. An oil that's had residue minimized at the last change, so the pump can circulate effective lubrication as fast as possible. Every step covered so far feeds directly into this moment. The warm drain, the extended drain time, the minimized residue, none of it is abstract. It all converges at the cold start, where the engine is most exposed. And the next part of the system, one most drivers treat as completely interchangeable, plays a direct role in how quickly that protection arrives. Most people pick an oil filter the same way they pick a generic product at a pharmacy, cheapest one that fits. Maybe the brand they've always used, rarely with any understanding of what the filter is actually doing inside the system. Here's what that filter is responsible for: removing fine particulate contamination from circulating oil, maintaining consistent flow without creating pressure restriction, and, critically, keeping oil inside the system when the engine is off. Filter micron efficiency matters too. A filter's job isn't just to catch visible debris. It's to remove particles small enough to circulate through oil passages and contribute to long-term abrasive wear. Lower quality filters allow smaller particles to pass. Those particles don't cause immediate damage. They cause gradual, cumulative damage across years of operation. It's a one-way valve built into the filter that prevents oil from draining back down out of the filter and into the sump when the engine shuts off. When this valve works correctly, the filter stays primed. At the next startup, the pump immediately has oil to move. Pressure builds faster. The cold start vulnerability window shortens. When this valve is absent, undersized, or made from cheap materials that degrade over time, the filter partially empties every time the engine shuts down. At the next startup, the pump has to fill the filter before it can circulate oil through the rest of the system. That adds seconds to the most dangerous phase of every drive cycle. A filter's job isn't just to catch visible debris, it's to remove particles small enough to circulate through oil passages and contribute to long-term abrasive wear. Lower quality filters allow smaller particles to pass. Those particles don't cause immediate damage. They cause gradual, cumulative damage across years of operation. It takes 5 seconds. Most people skip it entirely. And there's one more filter-related step that's situational but worth understanding. Because when it applies, it directly reduces that cold start vulnerability window again. If your filter mounts vertically, opening facing down, pre-filling it before installation is worth doing. Add fresh oil into the filter until it's roughly 3/4 full, lubricated and hand-tightened, not over-torqued. The gasket seats correctly, maintains even pressure distribution, and seals consistently for the entire interval. A dry gasket can seat unevenly. It can develop micro-gaps that allow slow seepage. It can bond to the mounting surface over time, making future removal more difficult and increasing the risk of tearing the gasket during the next service. Making future removal more difficult and increasing the risk of tearing the gasket during the next service. Lubricated and hand-tightened, not over-torqued, the gasket seats correctly, maintains even pressure distribution, and seals consistently for the entire interval. If your filter mounts vertically, opening facing down, pre-filling it before installation is worth doing. The controlled approach, at approximately 80 to 90% of the recommended capacity. This means at startup, the pump doesn't have to fill an empty filter before oil can circulate. The system primes faster. The boundary lubrication phase shortens. Check the dipstick, then top up gradually. Small additions, check between each, until you reach the correct level. This isn't a universal rule. It's a situational advantage. Know your application, apply it where it makes sense, skip it where it doesn't. Now the filter is on. The drain plug is in. Time to add oil. And this is where another common shortcut quietly introduces a new problem. The typical approach: remove the cap, pour in the full recommended capacity, check the dipstick, replace the cap. Done in 2 minutes. When oil level is too high, the rotating crankshaft contacts the surface of the oil in the sump. At engine speeds, this creates aeration. The crankshaft whips air into the oil, forming tiny bubbles throughout the fluid. Some begins coating internal surfaces. If you check the dipstick immediately after filling, you're reading an inaccurate level. The engine hasn't had time to fully distribute what you just added. If that initial reading looks low and you add more, you may cross into overfill territory without realizing it. Let it sit for 2 to 3 minutes. Check the dipstick. Then top up gradually. Small additions, check between each, until you reach the correct level. It takes an extra few minutes. What it prevents is overfill, which is not a harmless condition. When oil level is too high, the rotating crankshaft contacts the surface of the oil in the sump. Manufacturer-published intervals, 7,500 miles, 10,000 miles, sometimes longer, are calculated under defined test conditions: consistent highway speeds, stable operating temperatures, minimal idling, low humidity. The protective layer between moving parts becomes inconsistent. Lubrication efficiency drops. Beyond that, excess oil increases crankcase pressure, stressing seals and the PCV system. If you've made it this far and found value in what we're covering, drop a comment below with your current oil change interval. Seriously, let's see where everyone's at. Seriously, let's see where everyone's at. And if this is already changing how you think about maintenance, hit the like button and subscribe. New videos go up regularly, and you don't want to miss what's coming next. The principle here is exact correctness, not generous excess. More oil is not more protection. Correct oil level is stable lubrication. Those are not the same thing. Manufacturer-published intervals, 7,500 miles, 10,000 miles, sometimes longer, are calculated under defined test conditions. Consistent highway speeds. The exact number depends on the engine, the oil specification, and how the vehicle is used. The principle is the same. Align the interval with reality, not with what sounds convenient. Consistent highway speeds, stable operating temperatures, minimal idling, low humidity. These are controlled conditions that maximize how long oil retains its protective properties. Real-world driving doesn't look like that. Short trips where the engine never fully reaches operating temperature. Stop-and-go urban traffic with prolonged idling. Cold starts in low ambient temperatures. Turbocharged engines that expose oil to significantly higher heat loads than naturally aspirated equivalents. Towing. Dusty environments. Every one of these conditions accelerates oil degradation. Fuel dilution increases during short trips and cold operation. Moisture accumulates and doesn't burn off if the engine never reaches full temperature. Additive packages deplete faster under heat stress. Viscosity modifiers break down under shear load. The oil that might genuinely last 10,000 miles in a fleet vehicle running steady highway kilometers every day is not the same oil after 10,000 miles of urban commuting. Japanese maintenance culture doesn't argue with the chemistry. It acknowledges that real driving conditions vary and intervals should reflect actual use, not optimistic assumptions. A conservative approach under mixed driving conditions means changing oil earlier than the maximum published interval, especially in high-stress applications. The exact number depends on the engine, the oil specification, and how the vehicle is used. The principle is the same. Align the interval with reality, not with what sounds convenient. This isn't about being paranoid or excessive. It's about being honest with yourself about how you actually drive the car. Now, behind all of this, there's a larger framework. Japan's mandatory vehicle inspection system, known as Shaken, requires vehicles to pass rigorous technical inspections at regular intervals. The inspections cover mechanical safety, emissions compliance, and overall vehicle condition. Failure means the vehicle cannot legally operate until deficiencies are corrected. Because that standard is enforced, owners don't approach maintenance reactively. They can't afford to. Waiting until something breaks, then fixing it, is not a viable strategy when an inspection deadline exists. That mindset doesn't just affect how people handle inspections. It carries into every aspect of vehicle ownership, including something as routine as an oil change. And that leads to the single principle that ties everything together. Kaizen. It's a Japanese term that translates roughly to continuous improvement. And in a manufacturing context, it describes a system where small, consistent gains, made repeatedly over time, produce results that no single large intervention could achieve. Think about what that actually means in practice. One oil change where you drain warm instead of cold, minor benefit. One oil change where you extend the drain time by 10 minutes, minor benefit. One oil change where you pre-fill the filter, minor benefit. One oil change where you check the level twice instead of once, minor benefit. Think about what that actually means in practice. One oil change where you drain warm instead of cold, minor benefit. One oil change where you extend the drain time by 10 minutes, minor benefit. One oil change where you pre-fill the filter, minor benefit. One oil change where you check the level twice instead of once, minor benefit. Now repeat every one of those decisions across the entire service life of the engine. The compounding effect is not minor. Most engines don't fail because of a single catastrophic mistake. They fail because of accumulated stress. Dozens of small shortcuts, each individually survivable, stacking on top of each other year after year until the system can no longer absorb the damage. The Japanese taxi engine that crosses 500,000 miles isn't running a special oil unavailable to you. It's not built from exotic materials. It reached that mileage because the person responsible treated every oil change as part of a long-term system, not as an isolated task to complete as quickly as possible. That's the real gap between an engine that lasts and one that doesn't. Not the parts, the behavior around the parts. Every oil change you do from this point forward is a decision. You can rush it. Wrong temperature, minimal drain time, cheap filter, guessed oil level, stretched interval. And each shortcut individually won't feel significant. Or you can own the process. Warm drain, adequate drain time, quality filter properly installed, controlled refill, honest interval. The engine doesn't know you tried. It only registers what was actually done to it, service after service, for as long as you own it. If you've made it to the end of this video, you're already thinking about your engine differently than most people who drive the same roads as you. That matters. The engine doesn't know you tried. It only registers what was actually done to it, service after service, for as long as you own it. Drop a comment with your current oil change interval and what type of driving you do most. I read everyone. If this shifted how you think about maintenance, hit the like button. It genuinely helps this content reach people who need it. And if you're not subscribed yet, do it now. The next video goes into fuel economy, specifically the habits that are silently costing drivers up to 30% more at the pump. You don't want to miss it. Take care of the engine. The engine takes care of you.